Hi there, everybody. I'm just moving my picture up to get it out of the way a little bit. I wanted to show you what we're going to be doing in the next couple days. The most important thing that you need to kind of remember is basically we've skipped tens of thousands of years from where we just left off in early man. I just wanted to show you those first couple days to show you kind of like primary evidence and artifacts that allow us to see what life was like in a certain time, and leave you with the idea that big societies were formed way before we think of like big societies as coming all from Europe. But basically, we know that, in Iraq, that was the very first ancient empire. And look at this in 1750s, basically, the Persians in Iran have become a massive empire, very sophisticated, lots of astronomy, mathematics. Same with the Asians. We've got East Asia and China, the Qing dynasty, and the Mughal dynasty in India. And all that is going on with the Aztecs and the Inca and the Mayan over here in the Americas. But there's something big that has been happening for thousands of years here. All of these inventions from Asia to Europe, they have been trading back and forth. This is the same climate zone. So people could walk across trading everything from gunpowder in China to rifles in the Persian Empire, moving them into Europe where they were sophisticating the steel. So these empires rise in a very technological way, which these down here don't, because they're so isolated. Just look at the continents, right? They're long and narrow. There's a lot of obstacles. You have the entire Sahara Desert here. Nobody goes up and down trading beyond the Sahara Desert. Same with the ocean here, right? You can't cross the ocean back then. Nobody could. Even the Europeans they think this is the center of the world. So basically, this is important to remember. Those of you that don't know your geography very well, you should know that this is North America, right? This is South America. And then Europe, look at Europe. You got England right here. England is becoming a big kingdom. So is France, this dark blue, which I'm covering up here. France and England, which are located on what continent? Europe, basically start to take over down here in Africa. They use the weapons that they've been trading for tens and thousands of years, and they go into the Americas, and they go into, obviously, North America. That the British come in, those are the Pilgrims. And with them come slaves. They've gone down into Africa. The worst traders were the Portuguese down here, this dark green in Europe. The Portuguese go down into Africa trading to collect slaves, and then bring them back to the Americas, where they have giant plantations of cotton and everything all the way through the Caribbean. And we know the very first, Pilgrim societies in Jamestown, they had slaves already. So this is called the slave triangle down here across the Atlantic Ocean. Slaves being collected, taken, and then all the products, all the sugar, the tea goes back to the fancy Europeans, and they get to have all of those products, not questioning where it all came from. So this is the age of kings, absolute power by one group. Remember the two types of governments? We do not have democracies yet. We did back in Greece and Rome 2,000 years ago, but that kind of all changed with the rise of the Middle Ages. And now it's the life of kings. So that's where we are in the 1750s. Think of the king in charge of everybody. I keep going to the pyramid. You'll see why in a minute. So what you're going to do now with, sorry, I need to change it to the cursor. Now what you're going to do is you are going to basically use the read and write extension, which is the purple puzzle piece up here at the very top of your, it should be right next to your Screencastify extension. So you're going to click that. And when you click that, you will see that all these buttons pop up. You can highlight things. I can click on the highlight. I can highlight something, make it yellow. I can even take vocabulary words and add them to a list. So as I read down here, I'm reading life in the early 1700s was entirely rural. That's a new word for me. I might add it to a vocabulary list. And when I click the vocabulary list, watch what happens. Hopefully I might not be able to show you this if it's going to open up in a new tab. Yeah, it's not gonna, you will see when you click it that it is adding everything to a little vocab list. Sorry, that is a Capitan High School calling me. Anyway, you can click, you can add to lists. You can go up here and you can also, sorry, I want to get rid of that messiness. What I've done is I just wanted to show you in the first paragraph why I have, as you read, you'll see at the end of every paragraph or so, I have a little table that I've put in. And that table is so that you can kind of summarize in your own little notes what you just read. Okay, so as you read, and you're going to go slow, you guys, don't try to rush this, because the most important thing is that you understand what you are reading. So I'm going to just show you up here with this very first little paragraph. Life in the early 1700s was entirely rural, right? And maybe that's a new word. Maybe I'll just go up here and I'm going to bold that. You've made a copy of this document for yourself. You want to underline it, maybe if it's a new word, with a very simple feudal social structure. And in that social structure, social is about people. Maybe that's a new word. You might go ahead and highlight that and add it to your list and look at the list. You'll have to go, it'll open up a new tab, but I can't do that right now on my screencast. And nobles and clergy at the top, peasants at the bottom. So noble and clergy are at the top. Clergy is a new word, basically means a religious person. Clergy is anybody with the church. Think clergy, church. And they're at the top, along with the nobles. The church was very connected to the king. You were in trouble if you were not of the same church as the king. And very few people in between, the peasants at the bottom and everybody else in between. During the late part of the period, both population and trade expanded. The global population grew from 600 million to 1 billion in the 18th century. Towns became larger and more numerous. And again, the whole time you're reading this, you should be going up here and like underlining the parts that you think are important. Towns became larger and more numerous, resulting in the growth of a middle class made up of merchants, craftsmen, and shopkeepers. So now what I want to do is very quickly, and this will start to get more fast for you guys, is as you're writing, I'm going to take off what I had here. I just had it for you to see. As I'm thinking about what I just read, you're just going to take little notes. It's a feudal system, which meant that basically nobility not mobility, nobility, which are like the dukes, the princes, and clergy at top, and peasants at bottom. No full sentences, just little parts. Population, you don't need to write the whole word out. Plus trade, again, no full sentences. I didn't write the word plus. Trade expands. What else was important? Middle class, a new middle class, which was made up of merchants, craftsmen, and shopkeepers. Okay, so that's the kind of thing you're doing for this first part. You won't see this all. I'm going to take this out when you get it, so you'll do this yourself. Day one, you're just going to read that, annotate. You're going to read up to this part right here. Peasants, end of peasants. So section one, you have a few questions to answer before you go to the next day. So all that should take about, remember, you're doing about 10 hours a week. So you want to go, make sure that you're spending, like, time yourself. To read the whole thing and take notes, I would think that would be maybe 45 minutes and maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes to answer the question. And then it says, day two, stop, don't keep going on to day two. So day two is pretty much the same. What you want to be doing through all of this is forming a picture in your mind about what's happening. What is life like in 1750? Big revolutions are about to happen. The people, that massive population of poor peasants, they are about to revolt against the kings. And this is going to be the beginning of democracy as we know it in England, in the US, and France. Now, at the end of day two, you've got the same thing. You've got a couple questions to answer. Day 3, you are going to create a poster. And that poster is basically when you open it up, you are going to open it into, I'm going to actually put on the top of the poster what, how to make it. You can look at it now, but all it's going to contain are images. And you're going to get all of those images online and you're just going to put them in the boxes that they belong to. But you're only going to do the first 4 on day 3 because you haven't read about the bottom 2. This next part, and oh, it looks like I can click on and just show you a preview, basically. This is what the preview of your drawing is going to look like. I can't go to the next tab because I'm in the way that I have set this for screencast. I'm only on this one tab. So anyway, when you start to fill in the first 4 boxes on day 3, you're only going to be putting in Google images that you create. So then this is all now about government and power, and we're going to read that later. Like who's in control? The king, the church, as you know, is very powerful, connected to the king. King Louis is in France. He was on the map, it was the dark blue up there. He loves his legs. He's very into himself. He believes the whole world revolves around him. Absolute power means God gave them the right to rule. That's what they believed. So in England, it was the same until they start to, this is the English Civil War. Now they're starting to change. More power to Parliament, which is more nobles, not so much the king anymore. And pretty soon they have a whole new constitution. So anyway, that's coming. Please don't skip ahead. We're going to spend the first 3 days just talking about daily life. And then when you click on day 3, when you click on the poster after you've read it all and you have a good idea of what life was like, then you will see at the top of the directions, I'll have a little video about how to do that. Okay?